Good morning and a warm welcome to this week's edition of The Dialogue. My name is Prince Apollo. Quite a busy week and we come to look at the big stories that made headlines. Welcome to the show. The panel is set. Richard Baguma Tinkasimire, a communication expert and a strong advocate for proper nutrition, already here in the studios. Dr. Jeded Wanzala, a public policy researcher in the studios, and Honorable Stephen Mauku Mugole, all will be taking you through this show. We congratulate those who made it in any way. Those who are still meeting challenges, we pray for you. Quite a busy week, like I said. Tarehe Sita celebrations in Busoga sub-region. The usual uproar around this time of exorbitant school fees and many other issues, including the rebranding of the MK movement to Patriotic League of Uganda. Welcome aboard. Richard Baguma Tinkasimire, open our show and speak to our viewers. We kick off the big show, The Dialogue.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you, to the management. A good morning to our viewers, the ones we are really grateful for, and two for keeping with us, and most importantly to God, the all-powerful and the all-forgiving. I'm glad to be here, to be breathing free oxygen. Yeah.
How was that week?
Very interesting. There was a personal incident. People went and stole more than 100 trees from my little forest.
Wow.
And they didn't hide, they just took them to their home, the man, and we took them with police. So the prosecutor, I think, and the magistrate, they were very generous in their sentencing them.
According to you?
Yeah, they gave them a caution. Said, you man, stop stealing the foresters' trees. We caution you. Bye-bye.
A caution is also a penalty.
Yeah, it's by law, technically, yes. So when I went, my workers told me the people were celebrating. They had roasted meat, bought booze. I said, why? They said, no, they went and they were given a caution. And so they have now that put us on notice that if they can steal more than 100 trees and go, now they are going to bring in lorries and cut properly.
Richard Baguma, a dissatisfied victim of...
It was very interesting.
Of crime, of criminality.
I said now, these people, if they had got them and given them a few, now like they got them. By then they moved them from their presses to the police to pro-report. If they had given them a few cans, maybe they would fear. But now they are celebrating with the booze and meat.
Welcome to the show this morning.
Yeah. So I'm welcoming to the show, the Ugandan justice system show.
Dr. Jeded Wanzala, speak to our viewers.
Yeah.
And the people from the Republic of Chirinya.
It is United Republic. Don't distort the name of my republic. Yeah, good morning our viewers, good morning our people of the United Republic of Chirinya, and good morning to my colleague.
A victim of criminality.
No, not only him, all of us are
dissatisfied
let me tell
complainant.
You, last year I had a matter at police, Chirinya police, and someone severely assaulted my brother-in-law and broke his leg.
Wow.
So the wife was providing and I had to follow up the case. This case, the file was sanctioned by the office of the DPP. Now when the file got back to the police station, it became a hassle for the CID officer to arrest. They knew where the suspect works, he has a garage. But every time you tell them, let's go and arrest the suspect, it's as if it's a very big burden.
Wow.
So they were really conflicted. You do see that maybe something is not right. And I suspected several times that every time we went, with one armed policeman, someone would make a phone call, because you'd get there and say the man has been there, but has hidden. So he had prior information. This is what Ugandans go through daily.
So welcome to reality.
Yes, so how do you expect me to go and grab a very fat man and deliver him to police?
For me, we delivered. We went through the files. There were two cases. One was for criminal trespass, the other one was for theft. And the man agreed that, you see, he stole me.
He admitted to committing crime.
Yeah. Then they said, yeah, but this is a very nice man. He has agreed.
That is the law.
But then we are going to get you some money from this man. So if you can come, sign court papers, we have some 270,000 shillings for you.
270.
Come and pick it. It's compensation.
Well,
thank you very much.
That is the dialogue. Welcome aboard. You can join the discussion, be part of this big discussion by sending your messages either by WhatsApp or via a short messaging system, and make your observations and submissions on the topics we have at hand. Let's quickly run through the big stories before we go to our main course. Dr. Jerry Rehanzala, an incident this week in Namibia when the president, the name is somehow confuses me, Geingob died this week, and in just one day the country witnessed a peaceful transition of power in just one day to his vice president, Dr. Nangolo Mbumba took over presidency after the death of the president, and he actually later stated that he will not run in the next election, which is due November this year. He has no plans and intentions to run in the upcoming elections, and I said, well, this could be another testimony that possibly the politics of Africa is not as bad as many people would want to make it, because we saw we have witnessed, well, bad politics elsewhere, but also fairly good politics in several nations. A recent transfer of power was witnessed in Tanzania after the death of John Pombe Magufuli, His High Excellency Samia Suluhu taking over. What can you say? Are we progressing? Is that a sign that Africa is progressing? Because even in Europe, there are actually dictatorships even in Europe.
It is a yes and no. Now, if we are looking at Africa holistically, we have about 50-something states? 54. 54 states. And of course, like you rightly put it, there are countries we have seen that have demystified the presidency not to make it a matter of do or die. And therefore, in those countries we have seen, kind of a culture of transfer of power. We have just seen in Liberia, the former football president also handing over to an 82-year-old president after losing the election. Our neighbors, Kenya, have been changing. And then Tanzania, of course, there are others, like you remember Bingu wa Mutharika in Malawi also died in power, and then they saw in Joyce Banda, who completed the term.
Even in Zimbabwe, it was not so bloody. Yes. There was that transfer from Mugabe to Mnangagwa.
Yes, but in Zimbabwe, I think it was kind of a consensus of the military to say that this Muse has become senile, old and sick, and why are we still keeping? So it was an in-house coup, and also trying to undo Mugabe's wish to have his wife take over from him. So I believe if he still had some energy and pushed for the wife, probably there was potential to throw the country into chaos. So there are some success stories in Africa, but we also have so many challenges. But countries like Namibia, I envy them because
Botswana,
they got independence, liberation just in 1990, and today they have been changing and having peaceful transfer of power. So for me, that is the ground that I think that we should set.
Wow.
Because countries like ours are on the time bomb. Every time we are calling investors, please come and invest here. Many of the times they ask you, but is political stability guaranteed? Oh, I'm going to invest my money there, and tomorrow Uganda will be in flames. So it is something to learn from, and then we can try to adopt something from that and build a state that is not woven around an individual or around a certain group of people.
All right. Thank you so much. And from you, Richard, His Excellency the President this week signed into law 5 bills. And these include Civil Aviation Amendment Bill 2024, Judicature Amendment Bill 2023, the Explosives Act 2023, the Competition Act 2023, and your favorite, the Narcotics and Psychotropic Substances Control Act 2023. You must be celebrating.
I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure about celebration. I don't know about the others. Competition, explosives, I don't know. I'm not sure about the content. Somebody needs to help me. But I think the reason for, really, the main reason for amending the psychotropic, the drugs act, is because people want to grow marijuana.
Yeah, you know,
Legally.
you can recall
They have been growing
the
it.
pushback from the Mairunji growers.
So I think the reason really was to amend the Drugs Act was to enable the people
To license marijuana,
to enable
Mairunji
them
growers.
to enable them grow marijuana.
Marijuana or Mairunji?
Marijuana. The focus is on marijuana. Forget your Mirunji. So it is to license people to grow and process marijuana, which they are already doing, which was not supported by law. Some of us, knowing what we do, hiding behind the law, we were not very convinced. But then there was a reject that, you see, we are going to process for export. That it is not going to be. So for me, I think what we need to do is to prepare ourselves even better for increased addiction to drugs and the resultant challenges. We need to invest more in all the programs that help with control, with prevention, but also with treatment. And I think we are very, very weak and very, very poor at that. So we should just prepare for increased numbers.
So you're not amused about and excited about?
No, I am not excited about what we are going to reap out of this. People talk about money. Money. I don't know how much value is a life destroyed. There are going to be many lives, young and old, destroyed. I think that's my prediction.
By drug abuse?
Yes, it's going to be more prevalent, more easily available, hiding under the law, processed, which is more potent. And it is the people who are networked that will be really earning from this. But that the money will be meaningful to the others. There is no evidence to that. So that's I'm not excited. No.
Thank you. It is your opinion. And like I said, we now kick off the dialogue. Let's look at the 43 years of NRA, UPDF, the 43rd Taresita anniversary was organized, was held, and the national event was held in Busesa Bugweri district in Busoga sub-region. And His Excellency the President, who is also the Commander-in-Chief, was the chief guest at that particular event. He lauded the UPDF, the Ugandan Army, for evolving into a people's force and, of course, being now a professional army that is now not only guarding our borders, protecting Ugandans, exporting peace, but also now getting involved into developmental activities and undertaking development projects. For instance, the UPDF Engineering Brigade is, has refurbished Nambole Stadium. It has also worked on the extension of and expansion of Entebbe Airport. And isn't it the SFC now that is working on Kampala roads, which Dr. Wile Wanzala once said looked like a dinosaur waded through it. And I'll take it from you first, Dr. Wile Wanzala. What do you look into this NLA UPDF 43 years? Is it now a professional and people's force?
For the benefit of our viewers, I think they need to know that the NRA, sorry, the current UPDF evolved from at first it was the People's Revolutionary Army. And then later, because of different groups merging in the bush, they formed the National Resistance Army. And during the Constituent Assembly, there was a very high debate whether we would change the name.
Actually, you didn't mention the Fronasa of the 70s.
Yeah, the Fronasa, but of course, you know why I did not mention the Fronasa? Fronasa was more of a small fringe force whose effect actually was not really big. But of course, it's important that that history is also known, because Fronasa was then part of the group that came from Tanzania, comprising of the Chikos Malum that was affiliated to the UPC, and of course the Fronasa and other fighting groups, Fedemo of Kaira to come and oust Idi Amin from power. And therefore, after the 1980 elections and the contestations that followed, we had one group led by Mr. Yoweri Museveni that went to the bush and formed the People's Revolutionary Army. And while in the bush, you know, they had to come together with different groups, and this is how the NRA was formed. Now, during the Constituent Assembly, there was serious debate as to whether they would continue calling it the NRA or it had now become a national force, which would now shift to UPDF. History has it that President Museveni was much opposed to changing the name of this force from the NRA to the UPDF. But eventually he was overpowered and the CA's group, and they decided to name it the Uganda People's Defense Forces. By that, then it would now look like it was more national in character, begin bringing in more, you know, the kind of different ethnicity, and then an army that would be acceptable even when President Museveni eventually retires. Because it would be very hard for another president, probably who is not affiliated to this group, to come and take over the command of an army which showed allegiance to a certain section of people. So looking at where they came from, looking at how, say, our army used to dress anyway. I remember during the conflict in northern Uganda, there was a time when even affording clothes was a problem. That our soldiers were photographed with their behinds outside. I remember that time. And there was a lot of corruption that time, paymasters disappearing with salary in briefcases, so they were not paying. We had challenges of ghost soldiers, where some people were prosecuted for a person having a ghost, you know, a ghost company in an area. You see, that's so big. But I think eventually through professionalization of records, digitalization, through trainings, we saw a UPDF becoming an admired kind of force.
Oh, yeah.
And I can assure you that even in my own family, we have so many graduates who are serving in the UPDF. And of course, like you rightly put it, UPDF has left its footmarks even on the continent. Equatorial Guinea, as I speak, we are there. In Somalia, we led the attack when everyone was fearing to go to Mogadishu. I think the UPDF did a good job. And of course, locally, for the first time, you know that now we are not fighting within the borders of Uganda. So I should give credit where it is due.
Wow.
Now, where the challenge currently is that we seem to have failed, the command of the UPDF seems to have failed to transit in reality from the NRA to UPDF in terms of character. That certain individuals within the force think that this force probably belongs to them. And therefore, this character plays out every time we're in electoral processes where you find them openly taking sides. And by doing that, you find cross-sections of society going at loggerheads with some people within our army. And also, the other challenge where it has been to do with access to training, equal access to training opportunities, promotions. And so if people cannot easily get access to training opportunities, promotions, you create forces that grumble. And so at the end of the day, you create classes within the army where others think the Baganda say abana nebiana. So that becomes dangerous for sustainability of the force. Okay. And then, of course,
before you move on, don't you think that that what you call grumbling is somehow natural if a force or any organization is growing, is progressing?
Yeah, but also we know that when a child is growing, I will compare the institution to a child. That a child of 5 years does not behave the same as the one of 10, then the one of 20 years. Like now, Richard here at say 50 years is more mature.
So when we talk about
26.
when we talk about 43 years, you think
I think the
we
child
should have matured to a level where there wouldn't be that grumbling over promotions.
It would be very disturbing to see people holding guns in campaigns and saying, if you defeat so and so, we are not going anywhere.
Okay.
That partisan kind of behavior.
Okay.
And then lastly, before I leave, issues of welfare are not easy to handle, but I think there's still a challenge.
Okay.
Because I can assure you that in recent, crime reports of last year, 2022, the number of people in the forces involved in the robberies has increased. Mobile money robberies, cash robberies, and so forth, and also reports of stealing within the barracks because of the poor welfare.
Okay.
So it is something that I think the leadership needs to address, especially of a lower level soldier.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Gerard Wanzara. And let me first introduce Honorable Stephen Mugole. We are pleased to have you on the show. Just speak to our viewers, and then we proceed with the show.
Our viewers, I thank you as ever for being there for us, and we're also here for you to always discuss issues of concern, most especially that affect us as a nation, that affect us as a people of Uganda. But I'm happy again that I'm here with my friends on this dialogue again of very important issues that we should discuss. I greet all Ugandans, my people of Kibuku, Kabweri, I greet you so much.
Wow.
And may God bless you all.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You look like bakusize kwa kazugo.
Thank you so much. We are pleased to have you on the show this morning, Honorable. Richard, quickly, without digging back into history of NRA, FRONAS and UPDF, looking at 43 years of NRA, UPDF now, can we say it is now a professional force?
I think professionalization is continuous. Yeah, for any profession. I think it's a continuous process. So when you compare to, say, 10 years ago, I think there is more professionalization within the NRA than it was in the previous years. The NRA has grown. In the 43 years, it has grown 30,000-fold, perhaps.
Wow.
In numbers. So if you combine the regular UPDF NRA and the reserves, you probably have 100,000 people. They were, what, 33 or something when they were starting, so 3,000 times more. If you took professionals, in academic terms, professionals, say people who are doctors, engineers, teachers, lawyers, in the UPDF and compare, certainly the numbers have, bulged so much. If you look at, and I think it's a very important subject that has been in the public discourse. If you look at the ethnic composition of the middle and higher command now, because you see, that was an important issue that was discussed all over in Parliament, in the media all the time. I think you can see that there has also been a change, really, in the face of the NRA. In
the command structure?
Yes, the command structure. Because you see, command is at division level, is at brigade level, is at battalion level. Those are the units that do the work. If you look at the directorates, different directorates, if you look at the composition from the arrangement of units, and if I may say the unit, I mean Marine, Air Force, and infantry, and even in the infantry you have the mechanized. If you look at the intelligence assets, I think you can see the directorates of legal and medical. I think if you look at the UPDF has really changed. The face, the NRA has really become that, including in name. So yes, but it's a continuous process. There are still gaps. I also again take from Dr. Wedike's comment.
It is a continuous process, yes, but Dr. Gerald Wayanzala raises the issue of 43 years. At least there should be indicators that indeed there is professionalism at this level or that level.
Yeah, and that's why I'm picking out elements. I'm picking out the numbers, I'm picking out the professionals, the qualified in the different fields. I'm talking about the increasing necessary segmentation of the units and specializations, the assets. I think there has been that growth.
Wow.
And people forget the pacification, quote unquote, the footprint that Dr. Werike calls it in this region. They start with the soonest, but talk about Rwanda, talk about Congo, talk about South Sudan.
Yeah.
But Somalia is more recent. I think those interventions or support to those interventions has led to a transformation in those geographical jurisdictions. And I think it's important that we need to think about them. But if you also see the partnerships, if you look at the countries that partner with us, it will be China, to be India, to be the US, it will be the UK, it will be, all the powers, it will be the Russia. So there is something that they also want to partner with. And I think that's also quite important to look at. So, and then the controversial export of the UPDF human resources to the other areas. Yeah, to the other areas of civil service, to the other forces in the police and elsewhere. I think for me there has been that huge growth.
But they say it's one thing you can. Like, did you also say it's controversial? It's one issue that is controversial.
Yes, absolutely.
Deploying the army in police, in the police force.
It's debatable. It's just that when you deploy the army to help you manage Ebola, because if you remember in the earlier Ebola days, I was part of the very tiny group of journalists, 3 of us, that accepted to go to Ebola areas at that time and go to the Ebola ward. It was the army. The people fled, they refused to bury, they refused to look after. So when the army doctors come in during COVID, then that professionalization is accepted.
Oh.
When they set in then that becomes a problem. When the Army Engineering Brigade goes to Bududa or wherever to be part of the rescue or this thing that was choking the dam, there was this weed that was choking the dam. How is this? They are accepted. Yeah, welcome. So I think it's also.
So are you saying it is okay to have the army deployed in police and?
You see, if you have an individual with the necessary skills to support the Ministry of Health, WHO, to defeat COVID, what's the problem with having that one as the incident commander for the COVID operation? If you have the army with engineers and some equipment to extract the water hyacinths and defeat it, what's the matter with that? And therefore somebody goes to be permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture. Does the person have the requisite competencies?
Baguma,
if that person was a civilian,
speak to incidents
with 2 masters relevant in management and administration, and what's the problem because they have been in uniform for them to come?
Speak to a specific incident of an army officer being appointed the IGP, the Inspector General of Police.
That has happened in all regimes.
Is it?
It's not an NRA. It's not an NRA thing.
To you,
it is not an NRA thing. Is it?
No more.
Yeah.
We are not operating police service.
Conclude quickly.
Yeah. So I know, but you see, I know time is a challenge for us, but we are talking about 43 years, and we are unpacking some of these, and that's why I was telling you, Dr. Welike gave us a useful reference because he picked on the issues. I want you to look at the training facilities that the army has now. Yes, a training facility for IT, because you are dealing with IT now. It's one of the most important security considerations. A training facility for forensics. You know, we have huge gaps in forensics in this town. You have a partnership with Makerere. They are training management. Yes, administration. They were awarded at the Makerere graduation, actually. This one.
Okay.
Yeah, and so for me, the high-level command colleges that are attracting people from other countries up to come and study. So for me, I think the professionalization, a lot of it has done. Not to say there are no gaps.
Okay. If you can mention 1 or 2.
Yes. For example, the human rights record that continues to be questioned. I think that's an important. The many Air Force
human rights record. You're alluding to incidents like the recent kidnaps.
Absolutely,
we have
absolutely.
Seen
we have seen them during elections.
The UPDF have been involved.
Yes, we have seen
and implicated
during my elections, for example. Yes,
in times of elections.
This is just the latest. Yes, you don't see the neutrality, the supposed, no. You see behavior. You see behavior in constituencies by even the most elite units, and you're like, no.
Doesn't that take us back to what Dr. Gerard Wanzala raised about the army, transiting and evolving, but the original, I don't want to say
You call them
owners,
tendencies.
yeah, to remain
Yeah.
clinging on. I mean, they don't want it to let go. The NRA group doesn't really want to let go of this UPDF to become a people's force. Doesn't want that speaks to that concern that the original NRA wants to remain in control of the army and possibly deny it turning into a people's force.
I actually think, and that's what I wanted to end with, that you said a people's and professional. I actually think that the original NRA was a more people's force than this one.
Sure.
Yes. So when you say the original NRA want to turn it away from being a people's force, no, they are the ones who actually built a people's force.
But how
They are
comes?
now saying some of the tendencies in the current group are moving away, veering away from the true people's army values. Not taking it away.
So the
in my view.
NRA was adulterated, or what happened?
Adulteration is a negative application, in my view, of what has happened. The NRA has metamorphosed, as it has to, because its roles have equally metamorphosed. But the values of a people's army don't change.
Oh.
Yes. Whether you are operating in Somalia, in Central Africa, Guinea, whatever, the values of being a people's army. And I think that's what part of the older group people are saying.
All right. Thank you so much, Richard and Honorable Stephen. Speak about 43 years of NRA, UPDF. Let's not go into what we have always talked about, the discipline. Yes, it's a disciplined army. But there are other issues, underlying issues. They've raised issues of grumbling about promotions, trainings, and that tendency of the NRA and clinging on a force which has metamorphosed or wishes to metamorphose into a people's force.
Okay, thank you. First of all, the question itself, or whether these are 43 years of UPDF, I would segregate it into two. That UPDF is only 28 years old because it was formed in the 1995
true.
Constitution. But it was formerly NRA. So it should be really NRA, UPDF, 43 years. Is it a professional army? I want to begin that way. And whether the answer is yes or no, but the answer is yes. Because what is something professional? You look at the ethics and integrity, you look at the structure of that organization, you look at its applications when it is doing work, you can believe, and something that takes the core values of education. The trainings. So UPDF, as we talk now, is a professional army. And this is something that was in the NRM manifesto of 2001, where the president says, I can't live before this UPDF is made professional. I would like to believe that it is. There is now an organogram, a structured one from the commander-in-chief downward, with a number of directorates, and there is no directorate which is headed by somebody who is below a graduate. Who is below a graduate? That just shows you, first of all, that there is professionalism here. They consider education, they consider what you do, so the structure is good.
Yeah, I think those are the pictures from Makerere university graduation, the most recent one.
Yes.
So police
Some
people.
police officers and army, that is the deputy
This is the army.
spokesperson for the Ministry of Defense, Colonel Derakiki.
So you can see what we are talking about. As we talk
He
now,
was, that is a master's. He was somehow.
some of them are getting PhDs, and so truly, even today or tomorrow, we have a number of forces, police force, whatever. If somebody is running for rescue, who run to any army officer than running to a police officer. Yet, naturally, you run to the police officer first. That shows the professionalism. There was a saying one time, this leader, opposition leader of Tanzania, he was asked a question that you have castigated the late Magufuli seriously, that this man has not done anything good. Can you mention one thing that Magufuli did, which is good? He said, I can say that Magufuli did not leave the position of Minister of Works. So when he became president, he went with that. And what he has done for Tanzania is really to change the infrastructure, the road network, because he remained the Minister of Works de facto. I can also say President Museveni has remained the Minister of Defense de facto.
Wow.
That is why a lot of glamour was put on the army. And I can assure you, even with the discipline you have talked about, there is a lot of professionalism within the army currently. And getting an army officer to make him to be in charge of police, that's why I was trying to allude to you that we wanted even to change this to be Uganda Police Service. We don't have a police service. We have a police force. So if it is a police force, the commander of armed forces can put any. And in the hierarchy of forces, army is above that of police. So getting an army officer and making him to be in charge, to be the Inspector General of Police, as long as he's professional, is not a problem. And has not started here, it is almost all over.
And we can quickly...
Now we can go to your question, where you said, but what are those loopholes?
The
There
criticism
are loopholes. History.
has been about the command structure, the promotions in UPDF, and possibly if there is transition of power, this army you call a professional army would accept another person who is not within the circles of NRA, NRM.
Those are the loopholes we are talking about. Because of the formation, that was an army for a political party. There are still some hicks here and there, more so with the historicals. Because it's not new army officers who have brought in this, even if it is a people's army, truly, as it started, because without being a people's army, they would have won the war. But some of the historicals, you find them making statements, and always during elections, majorly for as a scarecrow. Once you're in power, you want dominion. So somebody is carrying away people that if you do this, we shall not, but not necessarily so. If the vote decided otherwise, something could happen and power is handed over. So those loopholes are the ones like we are growing and metaphorizing. It is the area we look at. What have we done, for example, in Parliament? You said that if there is a recruitment for cadets, every district must have at least 2 cadets.
A quantum.
Yeah. So some of these things are being controlled also by other arms of... Now there is a police going to recruit. We have put a quota that at least...
But we've heard of incidents where a recruitment process is advertised, and then people rush their members to certain, they are
That
registered
is the corruption
from
we
different
have.
districts,
That is the
different from their own.
We also have this called receive and train, RT.
Yeah, these are the corruption
You
we are
find
talking
maybe
about. That's the corruption we are talking about. Not structurally,
If there are
but
scholarships,
individualistic.
if there are scholarships offered on quota basis, then they will get some people, spread them here and there across
Yeah, we have
districts,
had people
and they will
changing
benefit.
names. Waguma changes, and he says, I'm called Yodeke for purposes of taking, and he goes and swears an affidavit that from this time I'm now no longer Waguma, I'm Odeke. But that's just corruption. It is not done institutionally.
Okay. Finally, from you, with the gaps we have identified from the criticisms that have been leveled against UPDF, NRA, do you think at 43 years are there systems that can work against those gaps, and possibly we see something change for the better?
The first one is natural. Naturally, most of these historicals, God is calling them one by one because of age. That is number one.
But will they leave behind systems?
No. You have asked a question. I'm now, as I build,
Go
you
ahead.
ask another one.
Go ahead.
I'm saying the one is that is they are going one by one. Two, new people are coming in, and now there is a system of recruitment in a quota basis that will change that trend,
Okay.
which we have seen as a gap.
Baguma Richard, is there now a system from the command structure and the supporting legal regime that can give us assurance that in the near future all these gaps we have identified can be done away with?
For me, I think what would give us more assurance is to have all systems working. It is not possible, in my view, to have a system of the army working when the other systems are not working. No, I don't think. So if you, for example, you need to have the judiciary and the legislature working well, and therefore putting the controls that are necessary. If it's a quota system, if it's questioning if the constitutionality of, because you see the Constitution commands that there should be equitable distribution. So you should be, somebody should be able to go to court and bring a constitutional petition and say this is not happening. And the judiciary should have the system to adjudicate that fairly. Somebody should go through their MP and say we need to amend the UPDF Act in order to ensure. So for me, or the Equal Opportunities Commission, and the Equal Opportunities Commission would then provide that, let's check. So for me, it's that yes, the system is being built, both for the army, but also for the other
For the checkers.
Yes, for the other checkers.
So far, so good.
So far, a little bit better than good.
Finally, from you, but not actually finally, because I have one more aspect we have to interrogate about UPDF in the next hour. Before we go for a break, Dr. Jerry Ranzala, do you see, because in the beginning we talked about what happened in Namibia. A president died. In the same day, the vice president took over. A peaceful transfer of power in Namibia. Do you envision anything that like similar to that? That in case the commanders, that if at all we wake up one day and we elect another person out of the inner circle of the NRA as president, do you see the UPDF saluting and accepting that person?
I think one of the biggest tests this country has, or even the army, this government and these institutions, is to outgrow, to see that peaceful, okay, for something to happen that will then necessitate us to put our institutions to test. Because I recollect very well in 2016, we had an army commander, chief of defense forces, who was interviewed close to elections. And that election was one of the most contested, 2016. And he boldly said that for us as the army of Uganda, we are here for the people. Anyone who wins the elections, we shall salute that one. That CDF became one of the shortest serving chief of defense forces
He was dropped
in the history of the UPDF. Yes, wow. Immediately after elections, was dropped and moved away from the command of the army to the politics. So for me, that is still a test.
I can see your fears.
And lastly, I agree with Richard. These systems can check each other and improve on institutions, other than sometimes just firefighting on one-by-one issues in a reactionary manner.
Finally.
Finally. I saw the president in 2022 saying that these people have become very corrupt, they are running institutions badly. I've identified children of the historicals. So that these ones shall give them the responsibilities to ensure that. But it does not guarantee that all children of historicals are disciplined or trained enough to run these institutions. Because I've had some historicals like Amanya Mushega who say, we have raised these children in Kololo, we have raised this one here, but a ghetto boy comes from Kamocha and wants to be president while ours are smoking weed. So it doesn't mean that every child of historical is going to transform Uganda, no.
Thank you so much, our viewers. Thank you so much, the panel. Let's go for a short break, and when we return, it is the big show. Much more coming up. We have to look at the politics of dynastic succession. It's another issue we'll introduce in the second hour. Don't go away. Let's go and come after a short while. Welcome from the break. This is the big show. This is the dialogue. Honorable Stephen Mugole, Member of Parliament for Kabweri County. In the studios, Richard Baguma Tinkasimire, a communication expert and a super advocate for proper nutrition. Dr. Jerry Wedihe Wanzala, a public policy researcher, and me taking you through the big stories of the week. My name is Prince Apollo. You can join the discussion. We are looking at the 43 years of NRA UPDF. Is it a professional army yet? Or else, and we also will be looking at the rebranding of MK Movement to Patriotic League of Uganda. Does it make an impact on the political environment, on the political stage in this country, or it's just a change of name? And we are also looking at the dynastic succession politics in Uganda. This week, the FDC and NRM were courting, actually in talks with the daughter of the Honorable Cecilia Ogwal, looking at how she can be their candidate in the upcoming by-election for Dokoro Woman MP. But it's not the first time a son or a daughter is succeeding a political office formerly occupied by his father or his mother. But is it good practice or not? We'll be answering those questions. But finally, from you gentlemen in the studios, Dr. Jerry Wanzala, I'll start with you. There has been this question of UPDF being a professional force, disciplined force, while on the other side we have the police force getting all the bruises and punches from the population as being the most corrupt institution. But these are sister forces under the same command. The commander-in-chief is the same. What's wrong? Is it because of our history that the military threatens the person in power? What is it?
Actually, I've been grappling with that in my mind, and of course, we started having the military. It's now over 20 years, I think, because we started with General Katumba Wamala, then General Kaihura. Now, during the time of General Kaihura, who stayed longer, okay, in that office, we saw the police initially transform a number of important directorates created, and also I saw in terms of training improved. At least he left a legacy in terms of training institutions and so forth. But in the middle of all that, again, the police was being implicated in a lot of criminal activities. And then later, we saw that the army was not only, the soldiers were not only leading in the top position of IGP, systematically, other institutions like CID, like now, you know, the CID is under Magambo, Major. We know that Chris Damulira Brigadier has been in charge of crime intelligence. And these days you find a number of captains, majors in the army. But still it's accused of, of corruption, of indiscipline. So maybe for me to be fair, we need to find out, to do with evidence, since we started militarizing the police, what has positively changed. Because when these new ones came, like under General Kaihura, there was a deliberate move that the only people in the police were spoiled tomatoes. And therefore, they recruited so many young people. Actually, there was a time you would think all the DPCs were brothers and sisters, very young, looking the same, very smartly dressed, but the crime rate was going up, increasing. Then lately, I have seen, I think, an approach, especially under the current IGP, to see that the old group who were taking so long promotion, to call them career politicians, have been promoted systematically, at least because, and then in some areas, you find them also despising the young ones, saying that these ones are promoted quickly, they don't know police. But us, we are more professional. And even when you reach a police station, you can find that maybe an older CID officer who joined after Senior 6, the way they handle, document, they file in terms of traceability of what you are doing, they're a little different from the young ones. The young ones will maybe you file a case, they write here, there's no evidence, and the way they handle. So, but me, what I need is to find evidence. What is that the army command is doing in the UPDF differently, and in the police is different? Or is it that information in the UPDF is guarded, that we don't know about so many things, but police is out there, so we see these things on a daily basis? So these are questions that maybe we need to ask. But concretely, I cannot make a conclusion without having an understanding of how these things operate.
Thank you. And Richard, isn't it intriguing to have the same commander-in-chief, but one force is doing very well, another force is going to the dogs? Actually, this week, a report that came to Parliament from the Uganda Human Rights Commission showed that the police has been neglected for all the years. They are living in deplorable conditions. There are 5 families in one uniport, separated by curtains, and even their remunerations are very low. What does that explain to you?
There was a time when policemen were deployed to tear gas their wives. I don't know.
I remember.
Was it Naguru?
The wives, what was the crime of the wives? They were saying, we are living like animals. I just want you to think about it from a human being point of view. That your wife is telling your boss that, you see, the way you treat my husband, really, we are living like pigs. It's like a pigsty. And then the other one orders your husband to come beat you. How human is that? This is not the first report about the police. In fact, what Dr. Werike calls the militarization of the command of the police started from some inquiry. I don't know if people remember. And it's a classic approach. If I really want to bring you down or demonize you, I will inquire into your affairs. The three of us seated here, if somebody started inquiring, they would discover some dirt, however clean we are. And they can take action on that. But people forget that there was an earlier report about the welfare of the army. Similar findings.
Yeah, but this one was really amazing. It talked about unimaginable nepotism in police, even the welfare, the circle they have. They compared it with what is in the army. There was a land and what. The other one is messy.
I'm saying,
we've been talking about UPDF.
I'm saying
UPDF, and you said very many good things about UPDF.
And also said there were gaps. I don't want that to be forgotten.
Are the gaps really huge or bigger than,
but
big as the ones we can see?
These reports have been forgotten. Over time we forget. Some of the changes that occurred in the army were as a result of similar report like this one. The living conditions of the army people were, if you read that report, were even more deplorable.
Sleeping and darkies.
So they were not sharing a uniport. They were under the ground, in the soil. And when it would rain, and in some of these places, as it rains, they would be like frogs in there. Some of these things get forgotten. So there was such a report. There was, you are talking about nepotism. There was no institution that was accused of nepotism more than the army. So some of these reforms also came out because of a similar report. There have been reforms in the police. They have not reached the level that is desirable. And so the good thing is that this is a government institution report. If it was an independent think tank, it would have been attacked very viciously, now I think. So, yes, there is work to be done regarding the welfare of our police people. You cannot talk about human rights, protection, dealing with cases fairly, investigation, without resources. That is for sure. We also must acknowledge that there are some improvements that have happened. Let me give you an example. One of the things that came out was that the police people had zero transportation to investigate even basic things. At least now we acknowledge that even in some of the remote police stations, there is a motorcycle.
Even the report indicated that people who come to police, they are asked even for paper where to write.
No, I am coming to that. I am coming to that. Even in the Harris unit,
the logistics are really
Harris
lacking.
unit, by the way, you are asked. I don't know if you know. Even in the Harris unit, you are asked.
Yeah, some are asked to buy gloves.
At the RC1 chairman, you are asked. I don't know if you have gone to any RC1 chairman.
Yeah.
Yes, you are asked. One of the challenges that make the police visible is because it has 24-hour, 24/7 contact
with the people.
Yes. Immediately. Unlike the NRA. Unlike the army. So, why do we cry about regular payments called school fees? It's because many of us have regular contact with this levy.
All right, I get
so that's a critical.
So you say it's work in progress. Possibly, the administrators of this country started with the army. Now they are moving.
But I am saying more importantly, the police is not necessarily more devilish than all the other institutions. If the other institutions had the same 24/7 contact with people who come with problems, who are aggrieved, who are unhappy, and every corner, you would find the same condemnation. I don't know if you read the corruption index.
It is because this,
The judiciary?
Yeah, police second.
Yeah, so-
Police first, then judiciary second.
Yeah, so it's not by mistake. It is because these are the ones in contact with people every day, and especially people who have problems.
Thank you. Now you can make your concluding remarks on police. Don't you think this disparity tells something about the mind of the administrators of this country, possibly, that, hey, let's first handle this one, because maybe the military, the army has had a history of taking over governments. I don't know.
not necessarily the mind. The army deplorable report was the first to come to Parliament. And Parliament took action. I sit on the Committee of Human Rights. We are going to take action. And this report is coming back on the floor of Parliament. Police, at one time, something like during the time of Kaihura, again people complain that police is taking a lot of money. People complain because everywhere they opened so many police posts, very many outlets, and everywhere there was at least some transport. Something might have gone wrong somehow, but that's why Parliament is there, to do these checks and balances always. Police, like any other organization, you see Ministry of Lands, when somebody says they are very corrupt, it is because it is a people-centered institution. Whereas the army is a territorial defense organization. Police is an internal defense and protection unit of people. And that is why all the time you find there is a problem because there is a conflict always. Nobody goes to police
so
to
are
say, nobody goes to police because he's happy.
Are you
Because
gentlemen
issues.
suggesting that the hype, the praises we are heaping on UPDF may not be so I mean real?
I've told you an analogy.
That it is because they are not near us. The army is not near us, is not within us. Possibly we are not.
No, I told you the analogy of the Magufuli and his ministry of works and going, and now the president being a professional army officer, and because of where the UPDF has gone, solving a number of problems in the Great Lakes region, I think UPDF stands tall as the best army now within Africa, I can say, in terms of infantry, in terms of very many other things. There, and the budget for defense has been always huge. From time immemorial, has been so huge.
And police budget
It has been minimal.
meager.
Yeah, but the one of defense has been, because the most important thing for any country, first of all, is security. Now, this is going to be worked on. I know the deplorable situation within police. It's incredible.
Okay.
Incredible. But we cannot say that government has a mind that police should be like that. It is, we are members of parliament. We are not the ones who formulate the budget, but we appropriate it. We need to do better than what we have been doing to ensure that the police service or police force is also enhanced the way we enhance the army.
Thank you.
But Apollo, I also want to agree that there are very high tendencies of corruption in the police.
Yes.
Very high. Yes. We also have to agree.
Yeah, that there is,
We interface with the police ourselves.
Okay.
That's the night I was with my friends around me. They told me they follow.
yeah.
One was a spokesperson, actually. Two in the force.
Yeah, there's more corruption in the police than
We
in the
agree
army. Than in the army.
certainly every contact you make to the police, almost, not all, but almost, at any police station. I was at the police station in one of the places. I drove there. And afterwards I asked them, but do you know who I am, you people? Why don't you at least fear?
Even in recruitment alone, in the recent recruitments we have handled, we've had more problems with recruitment in police than that in the army.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, our viewers. You can be part of the discussion as usual. Send your messages by WhatsApp 0701-609906. The number will be displayed on your screen. But send on messages, text messages on WhatsApp and on short messaging system called SMS. Tell us what you think about this army, the UPDF after 43 years. And we must now move on to another topic, a new, it can't be a new formation. Moz Kainerugaba, because people actually understand, they know about MK. I was talking to one of the leaders in that group, and he told me now the biggest problem we have is unpacking MK, that people know MK, but they don't know the
It is NRA UPDF. So it is NRA UPDF.
So MK movement rebranded to Patriotic League of Uganda, and we're asking ourselves of what impact will this new formation be on Uganda's political stage.
A big one.
We know that very few, in very few, actually 2 years and few months, will be going to a general election, and they insist that they target power. They need power. They want to run for power in this country. But again, there is NRM. Now this is a new group forming, and they say they are going now to promote patriotism, fight corruption. Quickly from their document, because we need to discuss from an informed point of view, there is here, therefore we, the MK movement, hereby proclaim the aforementioned objects to be a manifest precondition for the independence, sovereignty, and development of Uganda, and in furtherance of the aforementioned objects, we hereby constitute ourselves into a civic organization. Okay. And assume and adopt a new name and identity, the Patriotic League of Uganda, with the aim of working towards reviving in Uganda a spirit of good citizenship, national pride, and many others. He talks about service, protection of vulnerable persons, combating corruption and wastage of public resources, and protection of the environment. Of course, you will take the first shot, Dr. Jared Warewa Ansara. What do you make of this formation now, and what impact do you think it will make on Uganda's political stage?
Yeah, thank you very much, Apple. You know why I'm laughing? Why I'm laughing?
Can predict.
Last year, around August, I and a group of Ugandans came together and authored, actually I authored a paper called Revitalizing Uganda towards, towards responsible citizenry. And of course, we were supposed to take a line of an anti-partisan, all-embracing strategy of promoting patriotism for preservation of our independence. What I saw there is actually, I consulted a number of people individually, and actually when I saw the Patriotic League of Uganda launched and the statements being read, I said, did someone come into my head or someone ran with my document?
Do you want to claim that your document was stolen from you?
You know, there are so many hawkers in town, so it is possible. But anyway, let me leave that and come to the main issue.
But I also think then we should congratulate Dr. Werike for birthing.
But we are not so sure that it is his document.
No, I am not saying it is document. That is the ideation. I'm saying for having ideas which are similar.
No, he didn't. And, he didn't adopt a copyright on a seal.
No, it's just he has ideas which are
the
similar.
ideas are very similar.
Yeah.
And maybe for more information, I held meetings and was supposed to launch that movement on.
When he was creating, why he was also laughing alongside before he started? Because he had told me about the civic movement and the ones.
was supposed to launch it on the 26th. Then I told my colleagues that no, if we are bringing such an all-embracing thing, let's not compete with the NRM anniversary and Taresita. So we zeroed down on the 13th of this month to unveil. I was so shocked that the same idea is unveiled on the 8th in a different name. But anyway, leaving that aside, for me I will come now to discuss the MK movement transiting to PLU. We know that for you to play politics, okay, to play politics, partisan politics, and you want power, you are supposed to register with the Electoral Commission. You know, with the Electoral Commission. The information I have about this group is that they are registered with Uganda Registration Services Bureau. And therefore meaning that you must stay within the confines of the law, okay, not to do recruitment, national, you know, what political parties do. So at the end of the day, if you were after power, and I have seen two contradicting kind of messages. I followed the spokespersons of that group, the Honorable Ruhunda and others. They seem to have understood the concept very well. To clearly say, this is going to do, you know, to educate Ugandans. This is going to train Ugandans to fight corruption. While another group within the same movement is saying, for us, we are after power. The president is old, tired, people must move on and transition. So that kind of approach kind of confuses the Ugandans. And so, the other issue I see is that if it's a civic movement and then we are fronting a serving UPDF officer, the question that it brings that, can we allow other soldiers also to the same? What will be the implications? I was not so surprised that quite a number of MPs who attended the function decided to hide, you know, to introduce them, quite a number of them. Because we have created a situation where now we are putting NRM people in a kind of a speculative mode. We have Mzee Tova Kumeini and the Madame Namiaro everywhere doing mobilization for Mzee to contest. Then we have another group led by his son that is saying, no, we want power in the 2026. Now, where is that going to leave the country? Could it potentially...
At the event unveiling the Patriotic League of Uganda, I saw even the National Vice Chairman of NRM, Honorable Mike Mukula, Honorable Frank Tumweba, the minister in government, and several other ministers, top government officials.
And others went as far as saying that the emergence of the MK movement was due to failure by others, even within the NRM. But people who are saying that are not new in the NRM themselves. So, were they saying they were failures themselves? They have failed, and I remember people like the Honorable Mukula used to tell us they want to contest for president of this country. Where did those dreams go? Where they failed
now.
So for me, I think I want to appeal. Of course, the General Muhoozi, in his own right, as a citizen of Uganda, has a right to contest for president of Uganda.
That is true.
The only thing, me as a Ugandan, I demand that let there be a level ground that other Ugandans with similar interests can also come up and their potential can be evaluated. Because it's not only in Uganda. We saw that after George Bush Senior, There was Bill Clinton, and Bush Jr. came.
Thank you. Richard, Dr. Gerard Wanzala claims he formulated a document, but did not follow up to actuate.
No, he's going to launch on
to
13th.
actuate what is in the document.
No, he's going to launch on 13th.
No,
But what do you make of this?
I have no problem coming for a bottle of water at the launch of a civic movement, the civic movement of Uganda.
What do you make of this civic movement and its impact on Uganda's political stage?
For me, the only person whose conduct I would be very interested in, if I had a microscope near him, would be President Museveni. Note this. For me, the person I would be microscopically. would be. All these others are.
But he's watching all. He's
I didn't say. I would say if I had the means, for me, the one I would be watching
to read his mind.
Microscopically, would be him. Where is he headed with this one?
Yeah, but for him to keep quiet when all these things are unfolding, that's also a statement.
He
Either he endorses it,
probably.
or he's not ready to confront the group.
Many years ago, when we still had the opportunity to have audience with him, we were, I was with a colleague, I can mention who, Charles Wumshana, and we were in Entebbe in a tent with him, 3. And we were presenting a certain challenge, what was a challenge in our view. And he just said no. Then he told us, have you ever fetched water from a well that has been used? We said yes. He said you find has things, sediment in it. He said if you want to understand properly, in Nyankore we call it octanencher. He said you put it there. It is his silence is his method. Silence is his method.
Perhaps he's waiting to see how.
During was it the break? We were talking about how he surprises us all the time. So silence.
But Dr. Gerard talked about the uncertainty it now creates in the minds of NRM members, and they don't know what is happening. They don't know who to support and who to leave aside.
Yeah, but you see, if you are a gorilla grandmaster and your methods of work are gorillasness, gorillahood, and this is what I keep on insisting, that this is a gorilla grandmaster you're dealing with. The two things that you always do. One is keep everyone guessing. 2, surprise them. This is what he does all the time. So, for me, my eyes are not. No, my eyes are on him. If you are, if you really want to, if you are interested in surviving politically, or even economically in this, as long as he still wields the power he does, President Yoweri Museveni, you need definitely to be reading him and in all this. Forget, you said who? The Honorable who? You said the chairman of the NRM, who was there?
Mike Mukula.
Oh, So how can I be looking at that one? Really? How can I be investing my energies in looking at that one? So for me, I think it's important to watch. That there is going to be confusion among individuals. Oh yes, excellent. Even if I was the one on top, I would want to have uncertainty among individuals. But if you asked me to be where I should take a stand, I would undoubtedly be with President Yoweri Museveni or candidate Yoweri Museveni for that matter. And to say that President Yoweri Museveni is preparing to relinquish power to I don't know who, I think for me, I think totally differently.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And Honorable, take your shot in 5 minutes.
The failure. Sorry, Honorable, the failure thing. The failure thing. You see, if you have been part of government and in high places for 1.5 decades or so, and you say you admit failure, for me, I think it's tactless.
Oh.
Yes, because you are admitting the one who is failing is the ultimate failure is the boss. So how can you judge your boss to say failure? Anyway.
All right, before you come in, let me read these messages. Hi, to sort police issues on conduct in as far as corruption and human rights abuse is concerned, I feel training should be given priority. AME is doing well because of the quality of training. Let the presenters, he's talking about the panel, talk about this. He thinks it is the training that the AME...
But I think Richard and the Honorable raised a very important thing. The level of interaction on a regular basis. Because we need police services every minute. And therefore, the probability that they will ask for money is very high.
Yeah, true.
But the AME, most of the time they're in the barracks talking or dealing with themselves. Unless there is a riot, then they say police has requested the army to join.
To assist.
So we have
But you have also seen what has happened when they are on the streets. They are not angels.
Okay,
Yes.
and Pumuza Abel Keru said, good morning, Apollo and the panel. I entirely agree with Dr. Wansala. The UPDF has done a commendable job, but the issue here is they need to address the challenges the doctor has talked about. Okay. About the MK movement, and he says, and now the new formation, the PLU, to me, what we need to unpack is that if you read their document, they call it a civic movement rather than a political movement. So why then do they take part in a political dialogue? So we demand a clear explanation from the members who belong to this. I think calling it a civic movement is because they don't want to quickly associate themselves with
Yet they have a presidential
a political party. They don't want for now
I think
to present themselves as a political
I think for
movement.
me, that one makes them look like a leper who is selling beef, muchomo. The customers may not buy that idea.
Okay, he says, thanks for the program. I kindly request the government to assist farmers in Kalusu district, fake fertilizers, otherwise people will die in poverty and hungry. Ainebion Isaac from Nasana. I think he raises the issue, though not part of this discussion, but it is really legit. Muhezi Rajab from Masaka. Morning, the presenter. I salute you all on the issue of the late Cecilia Gwaru. We have not reached there. We all know Uganda in these days, voters have lost direction. They just vote for fun, not voting the real leaders. Yeah. We'll get to that. I will need a comment from the panel here.
That's correct.
Good morning, sir. Okay. Gentlemen, let's quickly get Honorable Mugoli's comment. MK, under security forces, its own prisons that behaves good. But other forces, Neda, Chibulamu, I am ex-convict. Okay. The prisons...
it is a service.
Maybe it is also because we don't interact with them. They interact with all the inmates.
It is Vaina who was trying to make it look so forceful, but we know that it is.
It's a prison service. It's not a force.
Gentlemen, let's hear from you, Honorable.
Talk with a lot of energy.
Okay. He says, I am also engaged in that debate. I would like to know what is the meaning of the word MK. Didn't I talk about it? I said people just hear MK, they don't even know what it stands for. But MK stands for Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Simple. Honorable.
Yeah.
A new formation.
A new formation. I will talk about three things. One of them is the triple S that is used in the army. Speed, surprise, and superiority. The chief gorilla and the commander in the chief has this in his arms.
Yeah.
He knows how to manage the speed when he wants to do something. And if he's to do it, he does it with surprise. and again also with superiority. We should understand this. And also that Ugandans forget quickly what is written. Our last NRM caucus in Chankwanzi, this matter came, and the president was clear, and he said what MK is doing is he has stood in the gap of the failures
of the NRM.
Of the NRM. That was very clear. So for you to ask whether...
Isn't that an endorsement?
Yes, yeah, for you to ask whether there is a nod from the president or not, when it was clear, put it to you in the public, that because MK was stepping in the gaps of the failures of the NRM, which very NRM leaders also agree, but he just said the only issue is that there are problems with within how they are trying to move, which problems must be corrected. I believe that this is one of the correction. Other than having MK on a name, comes as now a civic movement. But also, if I'm to understand, for me, you can't say that people are getting confused. You can only get confused if you don't have a good political radar. But if you have a political radar in your mind, why do you get confused? You shouldn't. Because, for example, what has been formed is Uganda, Patriotic League of Uganda. What is a league?
Yeah.
A league is a branch. A league is a wing. I would even say this is a league of the movement, which has not been there. There has been a youth league, there is a women league, there is elders league. Now this is a patriotic league, which is all embracing. I'm trying to give you what I'm reading.
3 minutes.
What I'm reading.
In this
That's what I read. So for me to support the league or MK and Tova Kumain means the same. If you're a true movement, support all. Because they are all coming from...
You are a member of the NRM?
Yes, I am.
Where do you fall?
Everywhere.
Wow.
I fall everywhere. Why? Because it is a formation from within the NRM. If the whole national vice chairman of the NRM from my region where I come from, Eastern, he's the one who launched. You think he can launch without the nod of the president?
Okay. Well, what if,
so these are very clear
What
things.
if that master of surprises you?
I have no problem if he surprises, but for me, my political radar and reading tells me all of these formations is the same. And once you come with the word a league, there is no political party which is called a league.
Yeah, true.
A league is a branch of something.
From the objectives and aims, promoting patriotism, unity, security, and what? Do you feel they can accomplish the task?
Yeah, within the NRM they can. They can. They can accomplish the task within the NRM. That's why you saw there was confusion when there was MK, and that's why you did not see very many high power delegates from the NRM.
Can they fight corruption?
Central executive.
Can they fight corruption that
this time
NRM has failed to combat?
Yeah, very many.
Because it looks like they larry their ideology around fighting corruption.
That one we know. Even the president himself one time alluded to it. The corruption with those historicals and whatever name them. Corruption has been there on the ground for some time. But what we're trying to say, this patriotic league, if it is that is one of its tenets, they can fight. They can come out. They will fight within and try to not step out corruption. That I can assure you, stepping out corruption completely is a nightmare.
All right.
It's a nightmare. But they can do something better than what is being done currently.
Mr. Apollo, I salute you and all the comrades. I am Kadu, and I am one of the products of the army schools. One of the arms of a professional army is the arm of engineering. No army has developed minus such. Look at the army of Egypt, one of the modern armies in Africa. Its engineering brigade is doing wonders. So the mighty UPDF has really moved. I salute you. And the PLU stands for the 4 pillars of NRM. So there we go. What he asks, what does NUP stand for? It stands for National Unity Platform. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, we have only 5 minutes, but I wish you make a comment on dynastic successions in politics in Uganda. FDC and NRM are fighting for a flag, to hand over a flag to Cecilia Ogwal's daughter, Rosemary Roch Ogwal. Starting with you, Baguma.
You know my position. I've stated it before. And that's why I have insisted that if Mhozi Kainerugaba wants to stand as president, and he does the correct things, get out of the army, whatever, he really has a right to do like any one of us. That goes down to any other positions. LC5 chairman, mayor, MP. My concern would be if it is forcefully hereditary. But if it is done,
if he's not imposed on Ugandans,
if it is
okay.
done in a legally agreed and democratic manner, I do not want to see why I would be denied to become LC1 chairman of my village, a position which my father had for I don't know how many years.
Yes.
I am competent and fit to be LC1 chairman of my village like my father was.
Thank you. Dr. Jured, dynastic succession in politics in Uganda is taking root. Every politician who loses a seat, either in parliament or elsewhere, a kid takes over.
Now, I share a common position with Richard, but the other issue I wanted to talk about in relation to this is the issue of, I told you here that I don't see anything fundamentally different in Uganda's political parties, ideologically, because like this case you are citing, this lady is a doctor.
Yeah.
I know she's clear-headed in her mind. She would know what FDC stands for, what NRM stands for. But now you are in the middle, and then this group says, hey, you come. Another group is saying, you come. So for you, what do you stand for as a person? Do you believe in NRM? Do you believe in FDC? So for me, succession, if it's done well, inheritance of these seats, it is okay. But also, it has to depend on competence and someone who's ideological thinking. It shouldn't appear like we're just carrying a child to throw there the way we did to Honorable Oromite.
Oh, Oromite.
The girl has just finished stage 6. She doesn't know what she's doing. You buy her a very big gomesi dress to ride on emotions of people. You bring her to parliament. The next day, she doesn't know what she's doing in parliament.
And she served only 1 term.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's
very, very young. Why don't write her off?
Oh.
She will come
Kindly.
back one day.
Kindly.
Honorable, you are in parliament. Let me hope when you've decided to drop,
if he decided to drop
retire,
his son will come.
Let me hope you're not planning to bring your son.
You know, that one is even happening in my constituency currently. My predecessor, unfortunately, passed on, but they have fronted his son to stand against me, which is correct, and I have no innuendo at all in that regard, because this has happened elsewhere. By the way, that type of dynastic is more in Kenya than even in Uganda here. It is everywhere, but it depends on who. First of all, I will tell you, I think I'm a politician because of my father.
Oh.
My father was the chairman of UPC. Those days when and the only thing they used to talk about was politics. And if I'm a son of a politician and the only thing I hear is politics, then I'm the most best person placed to be in that position. So
but what about now the sympathy that comes after a parent
if it is
has
death,
died?
if it is death, in fact, that sympathy is even more. It just adds and you get more votes for that purpose. But I can tell you, there are those who just retire. We are having very many, like the youth.
We are walking out of this place.
Person who was supposed to be president from Toro.
Kabuleta?
No.
Sorry.
Okay, Honorable
Urugumayo. He has his son now, youth representative. Very able.
Unfortunately, our time is running out. Yes. Thank you so much, our viewers. Thank you so much for these comments coming in. I see someone from Chisolo watching, but time is up. My name is Prince Apollo. Thank you so much, Honorable. Thank you so much for being part of this panel. Richard, it's always my pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure.
Dr. Gerard, thank you. Viewers, thank you so much. Let's catch up next week on Saturday. The Dialogue, the big show will be back next week. Yes, good afternoon. God bless you.
Show.
God bless Uganda.